Medical spas in North Carolina, understanding the law and your obligations as an owner. Medical spa is a huge business. It's a massive industry that's growing, feels like every year. We see medical spas popping up everywhere. In fact, I used to be part owner of one. So a couple of years ago, I started a medical spa with some friends of mine, and my sweat equity investment into the project was the legal work. Hence, I became very knowledgeable about the law around medical spas in North Carolina. Now, I'm no longer part of that project, but I will say it was a fascinating look into what one would assume is a highly regulated industry, but in fact kind of lives in this gray space between the healthcare industry and the wellness industry, kind of like cannabis. Medical spas live in the space of offering a plethora of treatments, some of them medical, some of them not. Some of them that we would think of not medical are in fact medical. And the people that work there, some of whom are licensed physicians or licensees under the medical board or the nursing board, and many of whom are not. So unlike when you walk into your doctor's office, it's clearly a doctor's office, right? There's usually a waiting room and somebody in scrubs, and you got to sign all these forms, and then you go into a doctor's room and you're, put in an uncomfortable gown, and for some of us we have to put our legs up in the stirrups and all these other weird things that clearly delineate medical treatment. A medical spa is often an experience that's very similar to a spa in general. You go in, there's beautiful music, it's a nice place, people might be in scrubs, the lighting is gorgeous, It's a much more pleasant experience. And 99% of what you're going to receive there is a voluntary treatment, meaning it's not something you have to receive, it's something you want to receive. The most popular treatments these days are things like aesthetic services, Botox, Dysport, Kybella, filler, lip plumper, eye lifts, Brazilian butt lifts, all these kinds of things. All of those, though, are in fact medical treatments. The state of North Carolina has, like many states, has a set of laws that prevent the corporate practice of medicine. More specifically, the private corporate practice of medicine. There are plenty of corporations that own healthcare facilities, but these laws are trying to prevent medical treatment for money. Basically, taking healthcare and turning it over for profit. It's interesting because, we all know that happens day in and day out. But technically, it's not supposed to. The medical spa world lives in this gray space where, by law, anyone who owns a corporation that provides medical treatment is only supposed to be a licensee. So in the state of North Carolina, that's a physician, a physician's assistant, a nurse practitioner. Okay? These are the three people that are allowed to own an entity, corporate entity, usually a PA or a PLLC or a professional limited liability corporation, that provides medical treatment. However, there are lots of other people, private equity firms, private investors, companies that get into this space and participate in the medical spa business by offering other services. How that happens is the medical treatment entity operates the medical treatment part of the business. So the physician handles seeing the patients either in person or over telemedicine. And then another medical provider, whether it's an NP or an RN who's supervised by an NP or PA or any other number of configurations of medical personnel, usually ends up giving the treatment, injections, filler, what have you, to the patient. A lot of times the doctor's never even in person with the patient. And instead, the majority of the people that work in the medical spa are non-medical personnel, receptionists, other sort of treatment providers that are not licensees, other staff. And those staff, a lot of times the physical building itself, will be owned by a private equity firm or a management service organization or some other corporate entity that provides the business services to the medical spa.
Yeah.
What that allows to happen is you have the physician and the medical personnel focusing on providing medical treatment, and the management services organization focusing on providing the business to them. So medical professionals get to focus on being medical professionals, and the business gets to focus on running the business for them with all the other moving parts that take running a business. However, there are some specific things that a med spa, like all medical facilities, can and cannot do that you may or may not be aware of. 1, payments for medical treatments are not taxable. They also cannot be tipped on, shared, or commissioned. Meaning, if you are receiving a medical treatment, somebody injecting something into your face or any other part of your body is always going to be a medical treatment. You cannot tip on that medical treatment. The person providing it to you cannot be provided a commission on that treatment. The medical provider is the one who gets the money for it, or the medical entity gets the money for it, and everybody else needs to be an employee. A physician PA or an NP are the only licensees eligible to prescribe treatment. PAs and NPs do so under the supervision of a physician. What does that mean? That means that unless the person you're seeing is a physician, a physician's assistant, or a nurse practitioner, they cannot prescribe you a medical treatment. You have to see one of the people I just listed. They will prescribe the treatment, and then somebody else under their supervision can administer it to you. So if you got a friend who's going to come over to your house and give you some Botox, and she's only an RN, that's technically illegal. Just keep that in mind. Medical spas are not necessarily subject to inspection or oversight. Only their physicians and providers are. So if you own or operate a medical spa, depending on the services that you provide, there's no one to come and inspect your facility to make sure you've got, running water or a bathroom or that you keep a certain sanitation grade. None of that occurs here. But your providers, physicians, they have oversight through the medical board and nursing board. Now, this structure is not unique to medical spas. There are lots of healthcare providers that own a specialized practice. For example, an OBGYN or a proctologist or an oncologist office that niches in something. They often will have the practice owned by the providers, but then the practice contracts with a management services organization to do all their billing, all their HR, all their staffing, etc. So again, the medical providers can focus on being medical providers, and the business can be run by those who can focus on the business. If you're interested in opening a medical spa in North Carolina, give us a call. We'd love to talk to you about how to structure your medical spa business in a legally compliant manner.